Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 178 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. He is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous high-profile sports books. And our call-in guest is Reed Kuhn, author of the book Fightnomics, and his website is Fightnomics.com. All right, guys, Eddie Alvarez and Donald Cerrone. Awesome lightweight fight here, right? Now, on paper, this one looks pretty evenly matched, and based on the odds that the market is giving them, it's dead even. Minus 110 on both sides right now for 5 dimes. Alvarez's big, long-awaited debut in the UFC, and he's getting a tough opponent here. It's going to be a tough fight, obviously taking nothing away from Cerrone. At minus 110, I think I'd take a shot with Alvarez. I think that's the side where the value lies. Reed Kuhn from Fightnomics.com. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's hard to say because we have no data on Alvarez historically, but he is going to be undersized against Cerrone. And Cerrone has been facing the elite, the top guys in the division. He pretty much will only lose when he's facing champion caliber guys. Alvarez might be champion caliber, but it's hard to say. He just hasn't been in the cage against the same people. So when we look at his record, it's not really apples to apples. Plus, we don't really know his performance data in terms of striking statistics, grappling, all that. But we do know that he is taking a step into the UFC for the first time. He's going against a very experienced veteran, Donald Cerrone, who is dangerous not only with striking but also submissions. And Cerrone's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. So given that it's a pick'em, which first of all is very rare to actually see a true pick'em on the lines, it doesn't happen very often. If it's a coin flip, I'm actually leaning towards Cerrone on this one.
All right, that's interesting. And what technical data informs that opinion?
Well, the stats for Donald Cerrone are actually very good. His knockdown rate is one of the highest in UFC history. On a punch-for-punch, pound-for-pound basis, Donald Cerrone is actually one of the top 10 most dangerous strikers of all time with his WEC and UFC data. So he's got that Muay Thai. And with that range, he knows how to pick people apart. The only time he fell short was against Nate Diaz, who is also very technical and very long.
All right, I take it back. For me now, it's either Cerrone or pass. Nick Kalikas, where'd you open this line?
I opened Cerrone minus 130, and they come back on Alvarez minus 110. So 40-cent line setting. When they first opened, a lot of them are like that. So this is an awesome fight, though. The line kind of went crazy right away. Cerrone climbed up a little bit as a favorite, and then the line actually flipped, and Alvarez was a favorite. So they're getting a tremendous amount of two-way action on this fight. So settling back down towards a pick'em is not surprising at all, because I do think it's a pick'em type of fight. You guys are slightly leaning, like you said, with Cerrone. I am too, a little bit. Eddie Alvarez's best path to victory, is going to be his wrestling. And I think both of these guys have outstanding wrestling. But Eddie Alvarez offensively, I think, is a little bit more capable of putting Cerrone on his back and maybe dictating the pace of the fight that way. Rafael Dos Anjos was able to do that to Cerrone. So I think Alvarez's best chance to victory is by following that same kind of fight, putting him on his back, avoiding the sub, grinding him out a little bit. Now, is it going to be as easy to do as RDA made it look? I don't think so. It's going to be kind of tough and tricky, I think. If the fight stays standing, Eddie Alvarez is definitely a very talented fighter in his own right. I mean, the guy has knockout power. He can mix things up well. But Cerrone, I think, has a better shot of knocking him out. I mean, we've seen time and time again Eddie Alvarez get tagged, get rocked. He's been knocked out before. So I think that in those situations, in those cases, if it stays standing, then a big advantage goes to Cerrone because he's a killer on the feet. I mean, he can knock you out with his feet or his hands. So I think there's definitely an advantage with Cerrone standing. If he can keep it upright, you got to lean towards him. And he's got good enough takedown defense in most cases to probably do that. But I am concerned a little bit with the takedowns and Eddie Alvarez controlling the fight.
Do you think that because it's been such a long-awaited thing for Alvarez to join UFC that actually maybe he's the fighter coming in here with all the hype and that he might be getting more public attention than is warranted?
Well, fans have been definitely waiting for Eddie Alvarez to make his UFC debut for a while. And, man, what a tough fight they gave him. For me, I would actually probably have matched him up with somebody a little bit easier, somebody that he can go in there and maybe handle, look impressive doing so, and then kind of build him up towards the title shot. But UFC is not doing him any favors at all. But no, Eddie Alvarez is definitely legit. I mean, he's been one of the top lightweights for years now. So even though he's been fighting outside of the UFC, make no mistake, the guy definitely belongs in the upper tier of the lightweight division. And if he beats Donald Cerrone here, he's going to be automatically probably placed in the top 5. So, I mean, that's how good and talented this guy is, and deservingly so.
So it sounds to me then that you're probably going to get big action on this game because both fighters, have such a big name recognition, and that it's probably going to be very balanced, and that the books are probably not going to need anyone, and they're just going to juice out on a high-volume fight.
what's such a toss-up fight in my opinion. I mean, either way, like I said, I really think that Cerrone probably ends up catching him at some point with all that knockout power and maybe finishing him. But at the same time, like I said earlier, I think there's that possible aspect that Eddie Alvarez actually wins a decision. If it hits the scorecards, I do favor Eddie. So that's why it's kind of a back-and-forth type of fight. Yeah, you want to keep this fight again. I mean, we were just talking about DJ and Carriazo last time about kind of keeping the action even for that fight. Now, this is the other extreme of it. I mean, this is a pick'em fight where normally I'd like to make a decision and keep us on one side or the other, but this fight is so crazy good and so competitive, and I could see it go either way, that you kind of want to be a little bit safer and maybe let the public cut their own throats. So if they're coming in hard on one side before fight time, then chances are they're probably going to be wrong on it. If that's the case, then that's fine. But either way, this is definitely a fight that you want to try to keep the action balanced as long as you can.
So Reed Kuhn, you're favoring Cerrone here slightly. If you had to bet him, would you just bet him to win the fight, or do you think there might be a little bit more value with a prop, maybe by knockout?
Well, I think given where the line is, I think I would play him straight up, and then I might also look for an inside the distance play, which last time I checked is almost 2-1 for Cerrone inside the distance. Because if he wins, I think it's because he catches Alvarez at some point. And how it ends on the mat, you know, Cerrone also can quickly go to a choke. He did that against Barboza. He knocked him down, but then sunk in a choke to actually finish it. So you don't want to get too specific because Cerrone is one of the types of guys that can actually do it either way. So inside the distance is a little bit more reasonable.
Well, I think we have our analysis here. It's going to be a great fight for the books. And Reed Kuhn, backed up by his data from Fightnomics.com, leading Donald Cerrone at -110. Thanks, guys.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.